This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Okay, it's 1 o'clock in the UK. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live Q&A on Telegram with Jason Brewer, the CEO of Marula Mining. For those that don't know me, my name's Mark Fairbairn. I'm a broadcaster here at Stockbox, and I'll be hosting the session today, fielding your questions to Jason. Now, we've already had quite a number of questions put forward, so thank you all very much for submitting those beforehand. We'll start with those questions first, and then the Telegram admin will open the floor here for everyone to ask their questions, either by typing in the group chat, we'll pick them up there, or indeed let us know if you'd like to speak by putting your hand up, and we can then unmute you and you can actually ask your question directly to Jason. So don't hold back. Jason, I know, is very keen to be here. He was keen to get this done very quickly. We only floated the idea, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. So he is here for you. So welcome, Jason. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And thanks, Mark, and thanks for everybody on the Telegram group there for agreeing to do this at such short notice as well. So thanks a lot.
Excellent. Well, before we get into the questions, Jason, it seems timely, I think, to pick up on the news just released just about an hour ago. This is the first official RNS seeking the listing on AIM. Of course, we have spoken about that before, but this is the first official announcement. So now you've got to deliver on it, haven't you?
Yeah. Look, we've had the consultants kind of in place in the background for some time, and I think we've had 2 calls, all parties call. So everybody knows what's got to be done, and they appreciate obviously my timeframes and wanting to get it done as quickly as possible. So yeah, we needed to get out the formal update just to notify everybody, part of the process. I was hoping to obviously get the dual listing announcement out on the Nairobi exchange at the same time, but we've got one more hurdle to go through here, back in Nairobi. But yeah, the AIM listing, full steam ahead. And when one of those questions comes up on that, I'll be able to give a bit more detail on that as well. But yeah, it was good to get that out, albeit a little bit later than I was hoping for today.
Indeed. Well, that is actually the first question. We have split them up into sort of general questions, then questions about Blesberg and Kinusi and Bagamoyo. So let's actually start first of all with the general questions. And the first one there is, can Jason confirm there are no further plans to issue any shares before or as part of the AIM listing?
Yeah, we won't be doing a raise on the IPO or the listing on AIM. There's no need to do so. So there's going to be no shares issued on that. We are still looking to appoint a joint broker, and we're going through, call it a beauty parade for that. But at the moment, no plans at all, categorically no plans at all to raise money when we come onto AIM.
Okay, well, that's a very clear answer. Can I ask you, just picking up on something you said before about full steam ahead and getting it done as quickly as possible? It's very difficult with timelines, I know, and certainly getting a listing can take a lot longer. It usually takes a lot longer than everyone initially plans for. Do you have an ideal date in mind, having had your calls just this week?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's some key reports which form part of that listing document for the AIM advisory board there, and one of them is the 3-year audited accounts. We're actually going through our audit process for our end of year, which was 31 December. So that's in process. That's probably the biggest timeline there. So we're hoping to have them done probably towards the second half of March. So once that audit is complete, we've got the reporting accountant that's basically going through things in parallel with that. So that's, if you want to say, that's the long lead time item associated with that listing document. So we want to get it done. I was hoping to get it done end of this quarter. It's likely to push into the first half of April. But there's nothing material to do. We've got the reporting accountants in place. They're going through that. The audit's happening now. Memory Crystal overseeing all the legal opinions which are required to confirm good standing of the various subsidiaries and licenses. We've got a competent person report, basically a very detailed technical report on the licenses, the projects, and I'm finalizing that over the course of this week. Party to do that. So yeah, there's nothing really out of the ordinary which is required to get it done. It's just a process of getting it all together.
Is it fair to say then, Jason, the next time we can get an update from the company on this would be the beginning of Q2?
We would hope in that mid-March time would have a more definitive time frame there.
Okay.
One of the big benefits we have is our lawyers, Memory Crystal, which are headed up by a guy called Nick Davies, and I've worked with Nick well over 15 years. He's the only lawyer on the advisory committee for the AIM market, so he actually advises them on mining deals. So to have him involved, and he's a very good friend, involved in this transaction will really assist us just making sure it goes through smoothly.
Excellent. Okay, well, it sounds like you've set everything up for it to be as smooth and as swift as possible. So that's good to hear, Jason. Now, the second question I have here, then, it's longer term with the company. What other minerals do you see as being part of the battery metals / energy portfolio?
Well, clearly lithium's well and truly there. That's set there, and we've got a good kind of base already with Blesberg. The graphite, very, very critical, as everybody's aware. So that's part of the portfolio. And we were up there this week, obviously in Tanzania, on site at Bagamoyo, and we're obviously looking at expanding our footprint there. Copper, I mean, what we've got there at Canusi is something special, and copper is very critical to us. So copper in East Africa is something which we will continue to build upon for our portfolio. Cobalt as well. That's something which is high on the list of our focus. Vanadium is something, particularly here in Southern Africa, which will come to the fore. I think those are the real key ones. And, lithium, just given where that's at the moment and what we're actually achieving at Blesberg, I think, look, what we're achieving at Blesberg is giving a lot of other people that have projects a lot of confidence to kind of come and speak to us and get us involved, because clearly we're not tire kickers. We're not sitting on our thumbs. We're actually getting out there and want to develop things, which is what they want to see. So we're almost kind of positioning ourselves as a partner of choice for some of these other projects which are coming our way.
Okay, excellent. And as part of that, of course, Marula is an African-based company. Would you consider opportunities further afield?
No, look, I think you want to play to your strengths and your advantages, and I think we have that here in Africa. The projects we've been able to secure because we're on the ground and we can get out there and get in front of people. So, that's how I like doing business, just meeting people and being able to negotiate things face to face. It's just how things are done here. You can't do Zoom meetings with a lot of the people we deal with. So you've actually got to get out and do it. And I think you get a lot of respect from people and local parties when you do that. So we'll stick to our guns. We think we've got a key advantage here in East Africa, Southern, Central Africa, and we'll keep playing on that. And obviously with the deal we announced with Quinton, we're in a much stronger position to be able to do that, given his relationships, his partnerships, and he's just a different level from me. So having him involved and behind us is a massive win, and will really allow us to move forward a lot quicker on some of these other projects and opportunities.
Excellent. Okay, so sticking there with your strengths in Africa, looking at lithium, graphite, copper, cobalt, and vanadium as part of the portfolio of projects within the group. I do hope we can speak to Quinton at some point. That would be very good. I know you're meeting with him, aren't you? Is it next week at the Indaba?
Yeah, Monday down here in Cape Town. So yeah, I've just actually flown down to Cape Town from Tanzania after the trips there. So yeah, we've got a big, I think Monday and Tuesday, we've got a series of meetings, and he's actually putting on a function for us, for all his suppliers, all the big all the mining equipment guys, all the consultants, some of the marketing and sales groups. There's a big function he's putting on for us. I think it's Tuesday night, actually. So that's the start of him really getting behind us and pushing us forward.
Okay. Well, I hope you can get some time, the two of you, next week at some point, even if it's just for 10 minutes or something. We can maybe have a bit of an introduction to Quintin here on Stockbox, and we can maybe just
Absolutely.
that would be great if we could organize that, Jason.
No, for sure.
Excellent. Okay, well, that does bring us nicely on to the deal here with Q Global. And the first question I have relating to this is the money from QGC is being released in target related tranches. Are the shares being released in a similar stepwise fashion?
Yeah, so the milestones once achieved trigger the cash, and then when the cash comes in, the shares get issued. So that's how it works there. So it's cash up front, cash then shares issued for each of those tranches, which we anticipate to take place over the next 12, 15, 18 months at a push. But we're obviously full steam ahead on well, the first two should be done obviously this quarter.
Excellent. Okay. You did mention that you're very lucky to have Quintin. And the next question here I have is apart from the financial input from QGC, what input will they be providing on a practical or day-to-day level with Marula?
Oh, look, day to day, I think, they're one of the biggest private logistics groups here in South Africa. They've got their own fleet of trucks, and you'll see that they push themselves as from pit to port. So it's the full logistics chain, not just the trucks, it's the rail, it's the port capabilities. Um, so that as we move forward, and particularly as we look to optimize Blesberg, do we continue to do sales at Mindgate, or do we look actually full delivery, CIF port in China, for instance? That's where they will clearly add a lot. Technically, their technical team and the consultants and the full-time staff that they have, bouncing ideas off them, talking about opportunities. That's we've got day-to-day contact with them. I'm speaking with their finance teams all the time, so that is something which we will clearly have. A key one is their relationships with the sales and marketing of end products. So we're dealing, like I say, with the majority of the commodities groups out there, the Traxys of this world, the Trafiguras, and so on and so forth. But you know, the involvement of Quintin means we're actually dealing at the highest of levels. Instead of coming in at the mid and the upper levels, we're now going straight to the top. So we get heard a lot more, and to have someone like Quintin push us to them means, and he's doing that primarily through the sales and marketing side, the finance side, and so on, really gives us that extra credibility, I guess, in front of them. So they are going to be actively involved as and when required. But Quintin's not the sort of guy that holds back. So, if we're not continually in touch and pushing him on all fronts, then I think he's going to be actually disappointed with us. So it's a
Okay.
relationship we've just got to take advantage of, to be fair.
Yeah, you're speaking very highly of Quintin. I'm looking forward to speaking to him and meeting him. And so you're saying there that really where he'll add a lot of value is with the sales and the marketing of the end product. So Marula and the team can focus on actually delivering those products, but Quintin there is going to be getting the deals with his network.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I mentioned when speaking to a couple of shareholders that questioned the deal with QGC and the equity and so on. By doing this QGC deal, it's de-risked our development plans, our exploration plans for these projects. So we don't have to keep looking over our shoulder as we're spending money, like all exploration companies invariably do, and say, right, okay, we do this, we get the results. That means we can then go and raise equity. Here we know that we start drilling, then funding is released. So we don't have to keep looking over our shoulder and hoping that the markets stay strong, the macro parts of the market stay strong. It means we can just focus on delivering both from a technical perspective and an operating perspective. So the deal allows that to happen. And then with Quintin down the track as well, clearly we know that we will have various avenues to go in terms of being able to sell our product, because he's opening up many more doors than what we probably would have been able to do. So yeah, it allows us to focus. And as a
Okay.
junior company, you've got to be focused.
Yes, it's
And as a
very
junior
important.
most junior companies, and I've worked for a few, obviously, you're under-resourced, understaffed, undercapitalized. So with what we've done now, that kind of addresses those key issues and key threats which have major impacts on junior companies operating successfully.
Okay, excellent. Now, how will the money be used from QGC, and will they be providing any further financing at the project level?
Yeah, look, I mean, the funding, as you've seen from those milestones, they're pretty much kind of associated with once we've met milestones,
Mm.
resource drilling. As soon as we start the resource drilling work, funding is released. And of course, that will then go to, part of those funds will go to cover those resource drilling costs, be it at Blesberg, Bagamoyo, Canusi. Likewise, there's funds when the initial samples and results come through. Then you'll be able to use the funds advance from that to go towards um, completing the resource statements and so on. So it's all linked to the milestones and quite specific applications of those funds. So it instills a great discipline as well into us as a company to remain focused and to achieve those technical milestones. As to
Okay,
additional funding, yes, of course, that's built into the subscription agreement, so there is capacity there for them to contribute more, albeit not at the same price. But there is the co-development agreement, and under that co-development agreement, that's where there is an opportunity for projects which we take to them and we ask them to get involved in, for them to actually come in and invest at the project level. So if we identify a project which is perhaps probably a bit too big for us to swallow in one go, then there's an opportunity for them to come in and take a direct 20, 30, 40% position alongside us. And clearly that will reduce our direct funding requirements and have them in there as a direct partner, as opposed as just sitting there as a partner at the corporate level.
okay. So potential there to get involved should they feel that the project is compelling.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. Well, the next few questions that we have are project specific, but I just want to swing back briefly to where we started on the AIM listing, because I see someone's just asked a question on that. You were talking there, Jason, about the audit, and that's an important starting point in this process. Someone is asking, is there any risk associated with the audit of the accounts that you were discussing that could lead to further delay of this deliverable?
Hang on a second, one second.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, sorry guys about that. Sorry about that. The question was on whether there's any issues with the audited accounts and getting them finalized.
If there's any risk, any associated risks with them with getting it finalized, yes.
No, not really. I mean, look, let's be fair. These are the annual accounts for the 12 months ending 31 December 2022. Really not much happened until the second half of the year. Because All Star Minerals, as it was then, was just a shell of a company really not doing anything. So from an accounting point of view, very straightforward in terms of the transactions we've done, both at Blesberg, and Pombwe Hill, and at Canusi and at Bagamoyo. So there's been a fair bit building up over the last quarter or so. But the accounts are very simple, very straightforward. Nothing too much of concern there at all.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jason. Well, let's now talk about Blesberg then. This is the flagship project, of course, of the company, and we've spoken about this many times on interviews. The first question I have is about the firm delivery date for the first delivery of spodumene. And I know you said it was pretty soon, and you were actually going to hopefully be there on site. So do you have a firm date for that first delivery?
Look, I'm here in the Cape now until the 15th. So part of that process is we've sent samples away as part of the final check assays for the bag material and the other material in the stockpiles there. So that's part of that process for that sales technique. And then they're actually Southern Jade, Traxxas subsidiary here. They're arranging for the trucks to come up there and collect at mine gate. So Henk van Zyl, who's the general manager for operations for Southern Africa, he's coordinating that. He's got community meetings on Monday and Tuesday, and then we're meeting on Wednesday. So definitive dates will come out over the course of this week, and clearly we'll be announcing as and when they've been completed.
Okay, so we can watch out for those definitive dates throughout next week. Okay, excellent.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure you'll be communicating that very enthusiastically, Jason,
Thank you.
and rushing down to meet the trucks. So that's good. When can we expect the LiO2 assays back from the lab? I think these are the assays that were going for check, really, weren't they, to make sure
Yeah,
that
so this was a 2-week process, and they've gone to multiple labs.
Mm.
So again, Hank will be able to give me the update on when they're due. It's going to be over the course of this week.
Okay.
We try and we're actually, I think we try to be quite smart when we get these results, when we put out announcements. You've got Africa's biggest mining investment conference taking place down here in Cape Town. So to get those results over the course of this week would be quite timely, I think. So let's see how they come back.
Do you feel there is?
Sorry, go on.
Do you feel there's any risks here with the assay results?
We're just waiting for the results to come back. We did a lot of the assaying. We did some assaying before, and we released those results in September. We did a 1-ton bulk sample, and then there was like a 530 kilo sample of 486, I think it was. The 1-ton came in at 6.19%. I think you had the other 586 kilos, which came in at over 6. And then the variety of the other stuff came in at between, I think it was mid 2s, up over 5 to 6. So, as long as it's consistent with those numbers, then I think we'd be very pleased.
Okay, so you don't feel there's any risk of surprising anyone negatively or indeed, ridiculously positively either?
I don't like surprises, so I hope
Okay.
it's not. But no, we're certainly, nobody on site's expecting any surprises there.
Okay, fantastic. Now, we know about the first 1,000 tons of lithium sales, which you say hopefully you'll be able to get a date on that on next week when that's going to be delivered. That then triggers the second tranche of 2.5 million, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So we'll hear on that in a week or two, I guess, then. Is there any further news on ongoing offtake agreements?
The discussions are ongoing.
Okay.
What we want to better position ourselves with them, obviously we've had 2,000 tons. Well, there'll be 1,000 tons of sales assayed, delivered, and paid for. So I think once those results are through, and there'll be very detailed chemical analysis on the quality of the material and so on, we're actually in a far better position in our negotiation stance to finalize those terms. We've already demonstrated we can get the product out. We know the grades from the check assays and the sample analyses, and we know the quality of the material. So that just allows us to be in a far better position from those negotiations, as opposed to doing it blind based upon drill core assays, et cetera, et cetera. So this really puts us in a far better position. So once we've got them, then we'll be able to really cement those longer term offtake arrangements.
Okay. Now, will there be any planned drilling campaigns at Blesberg with a view to providing perhaps a JORC or equivalent resource? And if so, are there any approximate timelines that you might be working towards here to get or a target resource that you're going after?
Look, absolutely. I mean, we've already got the first tranche of funds, which is in the lawyer's account pending the regulatory approvals. The second tranche of funding is due to us when we start the resource drilling. So we've already got the planning and preparations underway. And as soon as that comes through, then yeah, I mean, the idea is to establish a JORC compliant resource on the hard rock resources, which then will allow us to build a conventional hard rock open cast lithium operation. So the sooner we have that going, the better, because I think that will really, again, de-risk the company and show the true value of what's there at Blesberg.
Okay. Yes, of course. This is to do with the hard rock then and getting to the unmined ore there, and as you say, building that conventional lithium production plant. So you're in the sort of planning stage of that, and the second tranche of funds from the sale of the spodumene will effectively facilitate that to start moving forward quite rapidly.
Absolutely, and look, I'm expecting us to be able to announce the drilling contractors late in
Okay.
this current quarter. So,
Okay.
and details on the drilling program, how many holes, what depths we're going to, drill plans, and so on. So, hopefully, yeah, we'll have all of that in place and can actually get that out there so investors can see, that we really are focused on the long-term potential there at Blesberg and just not the reprocessing of those stockpiles.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that, Jason. We can do a bit of a feature on those plans and look at where the holes are going to be drilled. That's very good. Now, are there any plans in hand to increase the monthly spodumene delivery quantities even?
Yeah, there is, and we've taken some samples, which I think have gone to Joburg,
Okay.
to see just how we can improve the sorting of the material to go well above that 1,000 tons. So that was material that was taken. Actually, it was on site, ready to go when I was there the other week. So we should be finding that a little bit more out about that over the course of this week from Thomas Van Heerden from SMP. So yes, that is clearly in our plans, particularly as we're now in a position where we can accelerate the studies on the hard rock potential there. So the sooner we can remove those stockpiles and get into the hard rock operations, the better.
Excellent. Okay. Now, at Blesberg, you also have tantalum,
Yep.
beryllium, which actually I'd never heard of that element, and feldspar. Are these minerals likely to be added materially to the income of the project?
I think the tantalum, yep. And I was able to see in some of the pit walls at Blesberg the other week the tantalum mineralization there. I actually took a few samples back to Nairobi with me. The guys at SMP, they really cut their teeth in Mozambique doing tantalum operations there. So they know that market very well. So tantalum is something we're very much focused on. The beryllium and the feldspar, less so. Less so.
Okay. Less so. Okay. Okay. Excellent. I was going to ask you what beryllium is, but there's probably not much point if it's almost a side credit there to the company. I'm sure
It's
Google
probably
can.
something which um, is very harmful to Superman or something like that.
Sounds like it. Yes, Batman's weapon of choice.
There you
Okay,
go.
I have a final question that's come in on the chat on Blesberg. So regards the 1,000 tons per month production, Jason previously discussed upgrade to the sorting and bagging element of the process. Is there a timeline, an expected percentage in output increase or expectation?
Look, as soon as we get the results back from that work, which I just mentioned about improving the sorting, then we'll be able to do that. So we'd be looking to implement that very quickly.
Okay.
I know when I caught up with Tokas here in Cape Town just a couple of weeks ago after being at the sites, that was one of his key focuses there. So yeah, we want to get that moving quite quickly. Actually, I mean the market is perfectly timed for it. So
hmm
yes,
Okay.
we're keen to move moving.
Excellent. Okay, well, that brings us on to Kinusi and Bagamoyo. There are only a couple of questions for these. So if anyone does have any questions as well, we're finishing off here, just please feel free to type them away or stand by to put your hand up. But coming on to Kinusi then, when can we realistically expect to see the first sales and shipments of copper ore from Kinusi?
Oh, look, I've just had a couple of the guys up there. Mark Nally, obviously one of the board members there, and Rich Lloyd is getting involved more on the executive side. I've just had Rich Lloyd walking around on site saying, picking up pieces of copper saying this is 40% and this is the real deal and we should be mining here now. I think he was caught up in the excitement of the moment, but no, look, it's something where we're very keen to get moving. You've got 10 granted mining licenses there, so we can move ahead on a scale to get it going. So the sooner we can do that, the better, from my perspective. So yes, it's going to happen this year. We're
Okay.
adamant on that. So we've got SMP guys with their processing stuff getting up there in March. So yeah, we'd expect in the second half of this year to at least start getting some of those sales out there. You've seen some of the small high grade materials stockpiled and ready to go. So yeah, we'll get moving on a lot of that stuff.
Okay, so you've got 10 licenses that you can start on, and you want to start on it this year. Have you got to be wary of sort of deployment of capital, Jason, as well, making sure that it's deployed in the right way?
Of course, and we are. That's the very nature of our business. We're not until QGC came along. We're not the sort of company that had a big balance sheet and could
Hmm.
just do things on a whim. So it's got to be properly thought out. It's got to be properly planned. Hence why we're getting SMP up there to look at the ability of processing operation to get that going. So the application of just how much capital to get going there. And I had an interview with CNBC Africa the other day and said, look, initial 5 to 10 million to get a decent plant going there would be perfect for us. We just need to do a bit more work on there. The presence of the copper is not in question, and it's been seen more extensively than what we thought initially. So we do need to do some more detailed work. Hence why we've got geofields up there in February. Actually, it's February now. It's January's flown.
Hmm.
And really start putting it all together. So the sooner we can get that done, the better. But I'm adamant that that's going to be our second producing mine, and hopefully as early in the second half of 2023 as possible.
Okay. I have a couple of questions that have come in on Canusi. Then someone's asking if we can get an idea of the size of the project, if you can get an aerial, maybe send a drone up or something.
Yeah, that's all in process there, and is going to form part of some of that work from Geofield. So I think there is quite a lot which needs to be done. But we've seen series after series of these small pits extend over a kilometre. You've got the mineralization, which is clearly visible there, so it's very easy to track. So yeah, I think one of the key things I need to get out this quarter is an indication of size, and a lot of that will come from that geofields work. We've just had the guys from Takela were up there on site doing a lot of clearing, putting up some security gates, some signs, and everything. And as part of that clearing, they were finding more and more surface outcrops and small pits and small workings. So that's just given us more confidence in just how extensive a system it is up there. But I'm looking forward. I'm catching up with Mark and Rich tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, and I'll get a better idea of what they've seen and their thoughts.
Okay, excellent. I have another question here, which I appreciate might be a little bit tricky to answer, Jason, but it's could I ask about potential revenues from the copper mine, like a rough figure, but I'm aware you might not be able to give that.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's difficult to give that, but I mean, to give you an idea, a DSO concentrate of about 25%, you're getting 50% of LME times your percentage, your grade percentage. So that gives you an idea per ton of product there. So your costs fairly minimal. This is shallow stroke at surface, high grade mineralization. You're going to be doing selective mining, I think, from the initial observations, which I certainly made when I was there. And I think I came out with some ideas of the sort of range which we'd put in terms of production profiles of kind of like that DSO con. So look, I'm not going to come out and start quoting numbers here at the moment. It'd be inappropriate to do so. I think very quickly we'll come up with a scoping study. SMP, after their visit in March, will be able to give a better indication on the size of material, size of plants that they can get up there. I know he's already been doing some preliminary designs following discussions we had in December. So yeah, there'll be a lot more definitive news, numbers, size coming out on Canusi over the course of this quarter, and certainly once we get some feedback on the numbers from Geofields.
Okay, and just a final question I can see here on Canusi. Are we talking about large capital costs associated with the setup of the mine equipment, machinery, and infrastructure?
No, look, I mean, we've as I think I said on that CNBC Africa, I think I'd looked at an initial thing of between 5 and 10 million. And again,
Okay.
we want to get in there and prove that it's doable. It's almost like Blesberg. You get in there, you do proof of concept. It's particularly important in Tanzania, which really doesn't have a track record in copper mining. Everybody knows Tanzania from its major gold mines, the Anglo Gold's Gator, Barrick's Bullion Hulu up there. Mines which have been operating for well over 20 years and big mines. But from a copper perspective, there really hasn't been a tradition of big copper mine development. So there needs to be, from our point of view, we need to do that proof of concept. We need to prove that we can operate it at a smaller level, and then look, okay, guys, we can actually expand this and grow this quite significantly. But I'd like to take that kind of Blesberg approach, get into production quickly, albeit at smaller levels, and demonstrate that we can actually make that transition to being a producer.
And taking that Blesberg approach, and would you be looking to mirror the idea with perhaps an offtake prepayment as well?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much. And that's some of the meetings, some of the discussions I'm having down here at this mining conference over the course of this week.
Excellent. Okay, well, that brings us on to Bagamoyo then, and it's a very similar question. How soon could we expect to see sales and income from Bagamoyo graphite?
Look, I think again we've got 22 granted mining licenses that we're going through at the moment, and we may well be extending that a bit to include some additional licenses that we visited this week. But we've just got to go through that. But I think the graphite there is probably a bit longer term than the copper. So we'll try and firm something up over the course of this year, but I don't see production coming out of the graphite this year.
Not this year. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for all of those. Jason, thank you for answering those questions. I think that certainly covers everything that was submitted beforehand. So I think what we can do now is sort of say to everyone in the group, I mean, we have allocated an hour for this, so there's another 25 minutes left. We don't have to take the whole time, but it's there if we need it. If anyone wants to type a question or indeed ask the question live to Jason, then please put your hand up, and Kenny should be able to unmute you. I see one has come in here. Are we looking... Okay, so yeah, we've got 49% of Kinusi, the stake in Kinusi. Are we looking to increase the Kinusi share?
Subject to positive feedback from Mark, Nelly, and Rich, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Nice, straightforward answer. Any info on potential dividends? Hinted.
I'd like to
okay.
be making profits first.
Yeah.
Not putting the horse before the cart there. Cart before the horse. Look, we need to. Yeah, I want dividends to come out of this company. There's no question about that. I think that's what defines a successful company. Not just getting the capital appreciation, the share price appreciation. Actually getting dividends, getting a regular quarterly, half-yearly dividend. I look at a company such as Caledonia. They've been operating their gold mine there in Zimbabwe for several years, and you just see them constantly giving out a dividend there, and that really has defined them into a great operating company. So I would love us to be able to move very quickly to do that. As a reasonable shareholder, yes, of course I'd love to do that, because I'm not going to be able to sell my shares, or not interested in selling my shares in the short term. So that would be a great way of getting a return on that. But no, that is something which we certainly are targeting. There's no question about that. So the dividend policy, once we start generating cash flow and are able to announce our first maiden, call it half-yearly profit, then clearly something will be cemented and put forward, and we'll make a fair bit of noise about that.
Okay. I see another question's come in here. It's relating to the raising, so issuing money. So can you confirm any new shares issued going forward will be at the current or indeed at a premium to the share price at that time, and any associated warrants as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, with warrants issued, then clearly you're going to always price them at a premium. Always price them at a premium, and you're going to give 1, 2, 3 years. I've seen people in London give 5 years, which I think is far too long, but that's what I've seen some other companies do there. Clearly, nobody wants to do any placing at a discount. With QGC, it was quite a bit different, as I've said on a number of occasions when asked. It's part of a broader transaction we did with them, and I think that broader transaction brings in benefits, from every direction to the company. It is disappointing that you see those high level numbers there, but going forward, do I want to issue at a discount? No, I don't. Being able to attract equity at a premium, yes, we'd all like to do that, but you've got to be able to, you've got to have the strength to do that. Marula or All Stars has never been in a position of strength up until now with the backing of QGC.
Hmm.
Let's be realistic here. You only have to go back 3 or 4 months, and we were trading at far less than where we're at now, and we had a market cap of 1 or 2 million. We were that penny dreadful stock listed in London. I think we've transformed the company quite quickly, and I'm really pleased that it's we've got recognition for the assets in the share price now. But clearly, going forward, I don't want to do anything heavily discounted. I don't want to do anything discounted. But we're not an iceberg. We're not the only people that kind of do that. It's really depends on your position and the transaction you're doing. But clearly, that's not what we're going to do. That's not what we're focused on. And it's going to be quite some time before we actually need to raise any equity, if at all. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's I guess my position on that.
Well, I know you've mentioned to me before that you are a big shareholder as well, so of course you don't want to dilute your own shareholding there. And I just see a question. There's a few more that have popped up, but there's one here that's come in. Can we see any more share buys from management in the future?
Yeah, we've been quite limited with all the stuff going on. We have been very limited in what we can do because of the blackout periods and the various provisions that are applied to us there. You've seen how active we've been doing deals with QGC, doing graphite deals, doing multiple other things, the Traxxas deal, for instance. So there doesn't, and I've had many an argument with Ken, who are our advisor and call it Nomad here on Aquis. Yeah, I've had many an argument and discussion with them about it because, they're asking us, are we privileged to inside information? And I keep telling him, I'm the CFO, for God's sake. Of course I am. We're busy putting a strategy together. I always know what's 2 or 3 steps ahead. But yeah, we will be in a position pretty soon where we will be able to do that. And I think you'll see that across the board, both the current
Okay.
board and once it's reshaped as well with some additional members coming on board.
Okay. I see someone's asked about Quinton. Will Quinton be buying shares? I'm sure you can't answer for him, but that's maybe something I can ask him directly if we do manage to link up
Yeah,
next
you can
week.
ask him. I mean, clearly one of the regulatory hurdles we've got to jump over on here is the waiver 9 application, which is with the takeover panel.
Hmm.
And, clearly we're getting a waiver for that such that as and when he goes over 30%, he won't automatically move to a takeover position. So, built into that as well, that will obviously influence his or QGC's ability to basically purchase additional shares as and when on a not a voluntary, on an ad hoc basis.
Sure, sure. Okay, well, I'm going to get through another, I think, 3 or 4 questions here that have come in. Just back to Blesberg and Canusi, how many drills are necessary to prove resources on both these projects and at what cost?
With Canusi, sorry, with Blesberg, that drill program is being put together now. So once that's finalized, we will get that out. In addition to the drill program, there will be a significant trenching program because the nature of the pegmatites here is they're quite zoned. It's not like the very, call it uniform pegmatites that you get in Western Australia. These ones here, as in Blesberg, where the majority of the mineralization is in that intermediate zone. So it's very important, and particularly given the size of some of that spodumene crystals, that there is trenching in addition to the diamond core drilling. There's not going to be any RC drilling, which was one of the big failings previously, because when you do have a heavily zoned pegmatite and you're doing RC drilling, you're not able to define a lot of those zones. So massive failing with previous drilling there, as well as the fact that they used 3 drilling contractors and the first 2 failed miserably. So with Blesberg, we've got to get the right drilling contractor. It's going to be diamond core, and it's going to be in conjunction with a bigger trenching program as well, because from what we've seen and what some third-party geologists have also identified is within that Blesberg area, there is a significant amount of pegmatites undercover. And that's one of the big upsides for us. I mean, there's a number of pegmatites that aren't, and you can see them from your Google Earth images and whatever, but there is a significant amount which is seen to be undercover, shallow cover, and that's something which a series of trenching and diamond core drilling will be able to assist us with as well.
Okay. So at the moment, then you don't know. The plans are being drawn up. That'll give you
They're being
the idea.
finalised now. Clearly, before we've got that second tranche of funding from QDC, which will draw down, is £750,000 to go towards drilling there. So that is obviously being incorporated into the revised budget, because what we had was a two-phase approach. Initially, we had a two-phase drill program approach for Blesberg. We're now pretty much wrapping it up into one. So with that in mind, we're going to be spending that money on drilling up there. So we're going out, we're getting detailed quotes.
Okay.
Yuri, who's our geo up there, he's busy going through it. There is going to be a drone survey done there as well, which I'm sure people will be pleased, and you'll be able to see lots of that. But in addition, Yuri's putting together this more detailed drill program, which will, like I say, will include the drill plan, depth of holes, number of holes, location of those holes, and we'll get that out to the market so they'll be able to see.
Excellent. Okay, so we can wait to see those definitive plans there and the
And
associated.
on Blesberg, again, I'm waiting for the feedback after Mark and Richard been on site the past 2 days. So I think next week we'll be sitting down and formulating more detailed approach there for Blesberg. For Canusi. As I said, if Rich had his way, would have a series of excavators up there now, digging the product up. But we've got to do it in a more structured and managed way.
Okay. Now you've mentioned about a possible Nairobi listing. Is this advantageous over somewhere like the Joburg exchange?
Yeah, I've seen some people comment on that. 2 points. The South African mining sector has really been built by half a dozen big mining houses. So there's no real junior mining sector here like you have in Australia, or you have on the AIM market, or even in Canada. So South Africans really aren't that risk. They don't have risk money. They're not, call it punters. They don't typically invest in the junior mining sector. They're typically investing in your big mining houses. And the JSE is typical of that. There isn't really that junior mining environment there. And the investor base here isn't aligned to it. Nairobi Exchange, from my perspective, serves a number of purposes. One in particular is it cements our commitment to the region, particularly given we're going to have 2-3 operations up there in Tanzania, and hopefully a couple across the border in Kenya, and possibly one up there in Uganda. So it cements ourselves in its position there. Nairobi, Kenya's economy is one of the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. That Nairobi Exchange has expanded its functionality to allow investors from all throughout Africa to invest on that platform. So Nairobi, and I guess Kenyans in particular, they are looking more like your kind of West Australian investors, your London investors, in that they will invest in junior companies and so on. The tech and IT sectors here in Kenya have gone flying. The startups and the venture capital money coming in to support them is quite significant. And I see obviously a lot of similarities where I think from a resources sector, there is the potential to do that as well. So the board likes the concept of the Nairobi listing, because it will get us a lot of, I guess, political support being listed here, and commitment to the region, as I said. But there is, should we need the capital, there is a significant amount of capital inflows into Nairobi. The British government are doing a tremendous amount of work here, for sure. And I think the previous president was in London last year and did a series of presentations in London, in Guildhall there, on the attractiveness of Nairobi and East Africa as an investment destination. So yeah, Nairobi to me is head and shoulders above the JSE as a dual listing possibility.
Okay, and would you be looking to perhaps get this listing over the line around the same time as AIM, or are they sort of completely independent processes from each other?
No, I want to take advantage of putting together a listing document for AIM and use it here. So there's one of the other RNSs we had prepared was very much on the NSE listing. But as I mentioned, I think at the beginning there was one little hurdle we had to, which will get sorted out at some point next week. But yeah, we're very keen to get this done.
Excellent. Okay. Now, a question that's been sort of seconded a couple of times I see is regarding the actual listing price, let's say the IPO price. Do Marula get to decide the price? Is it based on the current Aquis share price? I don't know if you're able to answer that in much detail.
Look, I think it's just basically it's a mirror of what the Aquis. Yeah, we'll clearly stop trading on Aquis, and the next day
Hmm.
we'll stop trading on a Friday and on Aquis, and then we'll be trading on AIM on the Monday.
Okay.
Uh, Clearly, your market makers will use Aquis as a basis. It's down to us to try and demonstrate, there's greater value than what's being reflected in Aquis. But at the same time, for me, I've got to, or the board here, we have to, over the next couple of months, start to build up the news flow and build the value into the share price now, such that it's all in order, and such that when we do list there, it's not just going to jump up on day one. I'd love it to, and I'd like to think that there will be a bit of increased liquidity and a little bit more increased interest there as we go to AIM. That's clearly one
Okay.
of the reasons why we're doing it. But we've got to start it moving up now. With news coming out on Canusi, news coming out on the graphite, news coming out on Blesberg, and start building up the value now so that when we get there, it is in the sort of ranges which I've been publicly quoted as saying.
Excellent. Okay, that makes sense. That's answered another question there coming in about dual listings as well. So I have a couple of other questions here, Jason. There's the one here relating to QGC, the RNS stating that the last two funding tranches are subject to results obtained to QGC satisfaction. Just for clarification, is that the quantity, i.e., grade of results being referred to there? Sorry, the
I think
quality, not quantity. Is it the quality of graded results?
it's the quality as opposed to the quantity.
Hmm.
But clearly, that's something we have to demonstrate through those milestones, through those programs.
Okay, okay. So yeah, that is so it's the quality of the grade. Is that what it means for QDC satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a final question that came in was what sets you apart from other junior miners?
What sets us apart? Geez, is this time to blow my own trumpet or
I
blow
think
our
maybe
trumpet?
this is the time to do it. Yeah.
Um, Look, I think we talk a great game. We talk a great game, and we talk a great game very publicly,
Hmm.
particularly on our social media platforms. And today, I'd like to think we've pretty much delivered on them. We're not saying we're going to do this, do this, do this, and then come up with excuses 1, 2, 3 months down the track when they haven't been done. So I think we've had a great run in terms of delivering on what we said we were going to do. Um, I think what sets us apart as well is that you know, we've managed to get a group of people together here that actually want to build something, that aren't content with the status quo, aren't content with what I see quite often as, non-executive directors sitting there and doing sweet FA and asking for their salary once a month. Um, I think what sets us apart is that we're actually out there looking for project opportunities and backing ourselves to deliver. We picked up Blesberg. We had an initial very small shareholding in that. We always backed ourselves that we would be able to get the majority shareholding in that. We backed ourselves to be able to get that funded through an off-balance sheet transaction, which we did through Traxys. So, for a company that 3-4 months ago was worth $1 million or so, or £1 million or so, we've raised close to 10 times that, which is probably unheard of. And the majority of that is a fair portion of that, I should say, has come from non-dilutive funding. So we'll work both sides of the balance sheet to get to where we have to be, and we'll
Mhm.
continue to push that. We've secured a junior company. We've secured a partnership with Traxys, one of the world's largest global trading commodities. And now we've just come out and done something with QGC, a South African billionaire who's, self-made billionaire, not somebody that's grown up with a silver spoon in his mouth. So I think we've got a call it a dynamic about us, which, probably sets us apart from a few, but we're not going to rest on our laurels. We've got lots more to prove.
Mhm.
Um, I've got lots more to prove. We've got to get this thing moving. We've got to get production, and we're actually actively out there doing it. That's the thing, and we're loving it. I think that's probably different. I mean, we're actually loving what we're doing.
Good.
So, and I think hopefully that shows in the enthusiasm from the team, and what we're trying, and not just the enthusiasm from the team, but the results from the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that does remind me of a question that someone did ask earlier to ask at the end. It says actually relating to you, Jason. Jason is very hands-on, which I think current investors really appreciate. It feels he's the key person driving the momentum here. But what resilience plans are in place should he have to step back for any reason? Of course, this could be any number of reasons, good or bad. This person's sort of saying a significant risk potentially for investors having so much on one man's shoulders.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I was chatting up in in the middle of nowhere, up in Tanzania earlier this week, saying, guys, you've got to get in front of the camera. You've got to be doing these interviews. You've got to be driving it. It can't be me. One of the RNSs to come out in due course is going to confirm a strengthened board and executive management team, showing that we have the strength in depth and we have the necessary skill sets, not just mine, but others there. You've heard me talk about Henk van Zyl as the operations manager for South Africa. Tokus van Heerden as looking at a COO type role within the group. Edward Rohani, who's involved with Tequila up there in Tanzania, who's been a breath of fresh air in terms of what he brings. Again, looking at roles as like general manager operations East Africa. We've got to bring in and strengthen this company because it cannot survive on the energy and the enthusiasm of one person alone. I've got to have the support and the team around me, and that's what we've built here in Nairobi with the office here. We've got an operational office here in Nairobi, which is a fraction of the cost of what it would be in London. And I think the work ethic and results here are massive for that. So yeah, we recognize that, and that's why we're bulking up and we're getting people in the right places.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's good to hear, Jason. Well, I mean, that does bring us pretty much up on the hour here. People are saying thank you very much. Tell Jason thank you very much from me. Thank you to Jason. That was excellent. So unless there's any final questions or points people have, now is your chance. This is being recorded, so it will go out probably later on today, certainly over the weekend, to anyone who missed it or wants to listen back to anything. So thank you very much, Jason, for your time today. I think it's been very useful to everyone. There's been approximately 70 people listening live in this. It's been very civilized, and I think every question's been answered as best you can. So unless there are any final points, so just give it another 30 seconds or so, then I look forward to catching up with you next week. And Quintin, we can meet Quintin at the Indaba. And anyone who has any questions for Quintin, let me know. Just drop me a DM on Twitter. Probably is the best place. I do check Telegram, but it can get quite busy in these Telegram rooms, and I might miss the odd message. So just DM me on Twitter. It's open, and I'll try and get them in. But I think that's it. People seem pretty happy. Everyone's thanking you, Jason, for your time. So I think we can probably leave it there and say thank you very much to Jason Brewer, the CEO there of Marula Mining.
Mark, and thank you, and thank you again to everybody that's on that Telegram group. I appreciate what you do, what you talk about, and yeah, just to say, if there are any questions, then I'm readily contactable. So please don't hold back. I do tend to respond relatively quickly, and in a very open and transparent way. So I hope that continues.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much again, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And until next time, everyone take care, and I wish you all very pleasant weekends.
Thanks again, guys.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.